Hello, it's Konatoshem222. Welcome on my second video where I will try to find out who would win a war between the Systems Alliance from the MassEffect universe and the UNSC from the Halo universe. Before we begin, we have to set up some rules. First of all, how long this war will take out. It will be divided between them few months, few years, and a few decades, just so we can see how our interactions would fare out in this situation. Second, what will be their status during this time? Well, it will be UNSC just before the Covenant First Contact, and UN in Systems Alliance just before the Turian hierarchy made a shooting first contact with them. So now we have set up rules. Let's jump to our factions, how them compare. Let's start with the UNSC. First of all, UNSC have over 800, around this, space colonies, and this is no small space colonies like few hundred or few thousand. These have millions, tens, maybe even hundreds of millions of citizens. The actual pre-war population was set up around 39 billion by some people and some to even 56 billion. I mean, this is by the different people from different sources, so I will just set around 45 billion. I think it will be okay. About the University fleet numbers, there is said that in 25-26 there were about 2000 combat-ready warships. This was not by me calculated, but by other YouTubers on Reddit or anywhere else you can find this. Now, this is just before the Covenant War, and 25-26 is just the year after the war started, so this number would have been similar. So let's put their number in around 2000. As of the combat personnel, let's be fair. The UNSC was at war for over 30 years with the insurrectionists, so they would at least conscript 1% of their population, let's say. From 45 billion that I established earlier, this would be around 450 million people serving in the military role. In terms of military technology, on ground it isn't much different from our own technology. It is just better. No plasma weapons, no lasers, no phasers, etc. Just our own technology, but better. Well, maybe except the AI and Spartans, but they are pretty rare. As of the naval technology, then this is a bit different. They use magnetic acceleration cannons. MAX for sure. Basically, giant fucking colgun. It is work like a real life colgun, using magnetic acceleration to propel a slug, 600-ton slug, to about 30,000 kilometers per hour. For that don't know what would this power be, this kiloton energy alone would have been several times greater than the nuclear bomb dropped at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Basically, they could easily vaporize an entire city. But this number is a bit of a problem, at least for me, because it's based upon the UNSC frigate, and we have also cruisers, destroyers, and so on and so on. Another problem is based on the UNSC frigate built during the war with the Covenant, when they already have some of their tech. For example, the Spartan shields are based on the Covenant shields, so they probably won't be that powerful, but yes, still pack a punch. The other weapons used by the UNSC were archer missiles, basically missiles, nuclear missiles, that we know what nuclear is, and smaller version of the colgun/ray gun for the point defense and attacking smaller warships. And the warships range from the size of, as I said before, frigate from about half of the kilometer long to super carriers 4 kilometers long. To put that into perspective, the Yamato, largest battleship ever built, was about quarter kilometers long. Now, once we ended most of the important things to the UNSC, let's go to the Systems Alliance. For starters, Systems Alliance was created just a year after they found a mass relay. The year in these years, they used their first FTL travel. 7 years later, or 8, depending how you count, they meet the Turians. 7 years. Compare that to the UNSC that developed the FTL travel over 230 years before the first contact. Well, you can see the difference in the at least development. The Systems Alliance would have at this time not know really how many, but 100 colony at best. And this is only because of the MassEffect relay. Most of the colony wouldn't have reached over a few thousand. Maybe one or two would have over a million. Their entire population would nearly be centered around Earth, and it was around 12 billion if I remember correct from the codex. That means if we combined all their militaries of different Earth states and the Systems Alliance at this time, it would have around 30 to 40 million military personnel, depending active duty of course, depending on how you count, but I think it's most believe number. As for the Navy, the Systems Alliance have 200 combat-ready warships, that's frigates, cruisers and dreadnoughts. Frigates are around 200 meters, maybe a bit more. Standard cruisers around 500, System Alliance use heavy cruisers so around 600 to 700, and a dreadnought with main gun of 800 meters long, and the main body would be probably up to 1 kilometer. As it comes to the technology, especially ground-based technology, well, these systems have enormous advantage. MassEffect is known for having one of the best ground-based technologies. Everyone there have kinetic barriers, mass acceleration, and basically miniatures, railguns, so it wasn't be a much of a problem to take it down. Even a Spartan, well, maybe Spartan would be a bit overstretched, but you know what I mean. Their ground-based weaponry would just one-shot basically anything that UNSC have, because it's a damn railgun, just upgraded. You know, it would be slaughter for UNSC and a great victory for the Systems Alliance. Well, at least when the UNSC and Systems Alliance are pretty even in numbers. As of the space technology, again, Mass Effect just upgrades the railguns, which are pretty similar to core guns that UNSC uses. It won't be really a difference, just Mass Effect are better. Well, not in terms of firepower. Even the dreadnoughts would have less per shot, less kinetic power per shot than a UNSC frigate, at least from the middle to late UNSC Covenant War. Remember also that the UNSC vessels are much bigger, but Systems Alliance are faster, have better firing, and have a way longer range, at least effective range, because they are slack and space, and you know what I mean. But to give you a perspective of how much longer range have the Systems Alliance over UNSC, as I stated before, the UNSC can range the slack to around 30,000 km per hour. Systems Alliance Dreadnought can range their slug to around 4000 km per second. The next weapon is the Disruptor Torpedo. On hit, they created unstable fields of mass effect, and these fields warp space-time in localized area. This rapid and asymmetrical mass change caused the target to rip itself apart. And last but not least is the Guardian Defense Systems. Basically, point defense laser system. I probably don't need to explain this much more. When it comes to the actual fight, let's start this war similar to how the First Contact War started. Several Systems Alliance ships and through the Mars go to the, this time, Harvest Colony, where started the human Covenant war in the Halo universe. Next, one of the UNSC patrol ships finds them, thinks they are insurrectionists, and attack them. Boom, we have a war. Now, this first engagement is probably on the side of the UNSC, because if they attack, they would be already in range. And let me just say it straight. If UNSC hits system-sized vessel, then this vessel is just dead. No chance they survive. But low reload time, small reload time of the UNSC vessel means the rest of the system alliance ships would just shoot it several other times or run away. Well, which means pretty much a draw. UNSC warships would be damaged, systems would one ship, a few more other damage, and run away to the Shanxi. Now I should point out that non-systems alliance and UNSC don't have by this point FTL communications. So when the UNSC attacked this ship, systems alliance have in system ahead a few other ships. We know this because when the Systems Alliance Turing Hierarchy First Contact War started, a small Turian patrol was quickly destroyed by Systems Alliance task force that was just around the corner. That means that similar fate would come to the UNSC warship in the area. The Systems Alliance would probably want to take Harvest to negotiate with better position. Of course, they just meet entire new human civilization, and they know nothing about them. They might be just a bunch of marauders who come to this planet and settle it, that want to escape the Earth government. This possibility. They don't know anything. UNSC probably by this point don't know that a system doesn't even exist. So small task force will probably go and try to take Harvest. Well, this first would be probably not very successful. Harvest by this point would have millions of citizens. Additionally, system science would have to master at least a few thousand uh, personnel, ground-based military personnel, and they just can't do this very fast, at least not fast enough. But in about to month to two, if I remember correctly, this is how much time take system to master its second fleet and retake Shanxi from Turians. In similar time, they would have actual invasion force invading Shanxi, not Shanxi, my boy, but Harvest. And I spoke earlier. Superior military technology would allow them to win. Not easy, because system UNSC by this point have plenty of military experience with the insurrectionists, but they would win just because they can supply actually this. Then the UNSC sooner or later would find out about this. About 100 for them corvettes, a few heavy frigates, and one or two cruisers. That is by the UN system science standard. Around 80 frigates, 20 heavy cruisers, and 2 or 1 dreadnought side vessel. That is dreadnought and a carrier. I think this is most probably how big the second fleet was. And UNSC didn't want to back down. For them, system science are just another insurrectionist. But this is a quite large fleet, so they take Preston Call and order him to retake the colony. Now, in the original canon, to retake this colony from the Covenant, they require 40 warships and around a year to master it, together with ground personnel and so on and so on. For Systems Alliance, this time would use to simply bolster the defense of this territory. They would send scouts, check whatever there is, go through the UNSC database on the planet, find out about other colonies in the area, and just make the same home and harvest will be the biggest colony probably Barney. With a few months and that with the one for the Systems Alliance. They take the harvest and just it. UNSC can't respond in a few months. But now go to the few years. And here it becomes a problem. First invasion by the first offensive of the UNSC to retake the harvest colony would probably end up in failure. Systems Alliance have the second fleet to get guarding harvest, remember. They would have 2 or 3 to 1 advantage and better range. When the coal warships came, they would be just sniped from around range. But Cole is not idiot, he will simply retreat and take this information to the command. A minor victory for the Systems Alliance. Using they take advantage and temporary advantage of numbers in the area, they would maybe take out some other colonies, but they would be far larger losses than UNSC would know about them and would probably send a larger fleet in the area. The first losses for the Systems Alliance, and they cannot rebuild it that easily. After 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 if it will be lucky, Systems Alliance would just have to stop because they don't have enough ships to cover more area and the UNSC still have 2000 warships at start, so they probably would have sent a few hundred more ships to reinforce this area. By this point, it would be a stalemate. Systems Alliance don't have enough ships to advance at them. UNSC don't have how to come to attack Systems Alliance in range. Remember, Systems Alliance have far greater range than the UNSC, and UNSC FTL drive isn't exactly the best, most precise, at least at this time. Not to mention that the UNSC would have to worry about the insurrectionists, which isn't a very good. They are basically in the civil war for 30 years. They cannot just go enough ships to defend Systems Alliance at once. If they were at peace, didn't have a civil war, then the UNSC would probably just go and take over the Systems Alliance by a few years. Systems Alliance at this point would have started a major naval build-up, but they cannot just make the same number of ships that the UNSC are doing. It's impossible to a small economy. And the number of FTL warships are also pretty small. Coming to the mass real is very easy, but to actual FTL, it isn't that simple. And building them takes time. And time, taking the larger UNSC economy, they just don't have. Overall, the longer the war drags on, the more UNSC is able to build to win. They simply would build more warships. The AI would start making actually progress in deciphering Systems Alliance communications and different things. And the Spartans. Well, they are very great, but I just can't see them doing that much of an impact, at least not against the Systems Alliance. Technologically, Systems Alliance soldiers just are very much better than the UNSC, probably better than the Spartan. And the Systems Alliance have their own special forces. Yeah, they would require a few to one advantage to beat the Spartan, that's very probable. But the Spartans are just few hundred at base. The special forces of today's Earth counter thousands easily, very easily. So, and Spartans still have to take down the insurrectionists. Again, if the insurrectionists haven't happened, the UNSC would just crush the Systems Alliance with advantage. But having a civil war It's a very pain in the ass, especially when you are invaded by other country. In this scenario, Spartans would simply rather deploy against the insurrectionists than the Citizens Alliance, and even if deployed against the Citizens Alliance, they would be just in too small numbers to compensate that. And if any time Citizens Alliance actually manage to take body of the Spartans are not invincible, you know. No matter how much UNSC propaganda you can take, Spartans are not invincible. I probably have to say it even the third time, but I will just set up on two. And when they capture one, and actually examine one, and found out ever that they are just children kidnapped from their parents, do you know what the scandal of this would be? In a few decades time, the war is very hard to imagine how it would come out. The NSC would make very well just overwhelm the Citizens with numbers if they manage to take the insurrectionists. System Alliance can take the insurrectionist help to fight against the UNSC, or the stalemate might just continue because UNSC can't take the insurgents. They were fighting even after the Covenant attack, remember, in canon. But it ultimately comes down to, can the UNSC reverse engineer the system science technology? Or Forerunner. If they reverse engineering technology of the Citizens Alliance and have ESO on their territory, then they can very easily take down the Citizens Alliance because they would close up the tech gap. Don't need to be closed up entirely, just they have kinetic barriers and their ships already can make up to the Citizens Alliance defensive forces and take them out with number of missiles or just slugs. And if they take down Forerunner, manage to reverse engineer Forerunner technology, then this is pretty much KO for the insurrectionists and the Citizens Alliance. Victory for the UNSC. But who you think would win this scenario? Write, comment, subscribe, like, and the other things that YouTuber always say to you in the end. I hope you would want to more of this type of videos with other universes. And for now,